Hello and welcome to your first training tutorial on how to use the nxCricket app to score during OCL cricket games. We'll get started by opening the app on the iPad. Once you're within the app console, you will see various options on the bottom of the screen. On the left, you have the ability to switch between active matches and completed matches. Then you have the ability to sort the matches based on descending or ascending orders. You have the ability to get into email scorebook format, which will enable you to select an existing match and send the scorecard as an email. Then you have the ability to connect using Bluetooth to another device that also has the nxCricket app and import or export information. You have the ability to create or leverage existing players in the OCL pool that have been situated within this app. You have also the ability to create and manage teams. So you can see currently we have all the teams that are a part of the OCL listed within the app. Then you have the ability to manage a tournament or a specific component of your season, which we will walk you through how to add and associate current or new matches to the tournament. Then you will see the ability to back up your data as well as restore from any backups that were generated. And then finally, on the far right, as it says in the center of the screen, you have the ability to take advantage of the help sections that have been populated with how-to built-in tutorials to do various different activities. Alright, let's get started. So we are going to start by creating a new team within the nxCricket scoring app. So we're going to go to the team management settings, which will be the sixth icon from the left. We're going to click on that and it'll launch this menu where you have the ability to either edit or manage existing teams, or delete the teams that exist, or go further and create a new team. So once you're trying to create a new team, you're going to get into the create new team, give the team a name, define a contact name, a phone number, and email address as it applies. Once you are done defining all of these entities, you're going to hit save, and there you go. You have just created a new demo team. Once the team has been created, it will take you back to the Manage Teams console, from where you can select the team that you just created, and then you have the ability to manage players within the team. Once you're in the team management, specific team management console, you have the ability to edit, change existing players, add new players. Add allows you to leverage the existing existing players within the team directory or the players directory, and then you also have the option to add new players to your team. So if you choose to add new players, you then have the option to define their names, an email address, a phone number that applies, define whether or not that player is a batsman, a bowler, or an all-rounder. If they're a bowler, you have the ability to designate what type of bowler they are. If they're a batsman, you can designate whether they're left-handed batsman, right-handed batsman. If they're a wicket keeper, you can say yes or no to the wicket keeper. You also have the ability to take a picture or pick an existing picture of the player and associate that with the player information that you're creating here. Once the player has been created, you can hit save, and now you will have a new player who is designated as the captain. So C for captain, right-handed fast bowler, a batsman. You also have the ability to select the player and look at existing stats across batting or bowling, or make any changes as they apply. You can go back to the demo and choose to edit the player, and this way you can remove the player by clicking on the delete on the left. You also have the ability to add existing players from another team or across the general players pool. So I could designate between teams that are already applicable to the existing team, players who have not been allocated a specific team that exists within the player pool, and then a list of all players that are currently in your player pool. So this is how you can manage your team, add new players to your team, and work through it as is necessary. So we got started by creating a new team, and that's where you will get started once you start working with the nxCricket app. You also have the ability to go into the players pool and create new profiles for each of your players and then associate them to the team once that has been created. You can always go back and delete any of the players. You can also select and edit or take a look at the stats of the existing players across the format or across the season as they stand. All right, so that thus far allows you to situate your team and manage player profiles, how to create, edit, and delete existing profiles. Next, we are going to walk through how to create and score in an actual match. So as you can see, I'm on the home page of my app where I can toggle between completed and active matches. So I'm going to make sure I'm in the active matches screen, and then up top on the right I have the add button or the plus sign. I'm going to click on that, and from here I'm going to define the specific parameters of the game depending on the format that you're using. So first you'll designate the home team, whichever team that may be. Then you are going to designate an away team, whichever team that may be. You're going to define the balls per over, which is going to be the standard of 6. You're going to designate the match type, the runs for wide, runs for a no ball, overs per inning, runs for a wicket, start for, and some of those settings. So as per OCL standards, we're going to change for the T20 leg the overs per innings first to 20. We're going to leave the rest of the settings as they stand, and then before it'll enable us to create, we have to designate the match type. So you can see once I clicked on the match type, 1 inning match, 1 inning per side, it resets or defaults the overs per inning. So the recommended route would be you define the home team, the away team, select the match type to 1 inning, and then go in and change the overs per inning. Once you have set up the overs per inning to 20, you will leave the rest of the settings as default, and we'll come back and change some of the settings such as runs for wide, which applies to the OCL format. Once you are done determining or defining some of these settings, you're going to hit create up top next to the new match, and there you have just created your new match. Once the new match is created, you have the ability to click on it or touch on it in this case, and it will bring you to the scoring score sheet or scoring configuration within the app. So from here, before we get started with the scoring, we will designate certain settings in terms of who won the toss, where the game is being held, etc. So again, on the top right of the field, we're going to click on settings or touch on settings. From under settings, you have 3 different sections. We have the match settings on the left, the score settings in the middle, and the limit settings on the right hand side. So first off, we are going to designate the name of the scorer, whoever is using this app to score for the game. We're going to designate the name of the umpires who are involved in umpiring or refereeing the game. Then again, you have the ability to define who won the toss by toggling between the two teams. And then based on who won the toss, you have the ability to define who is going to be batting. Then you have the ability to define a match location. So you can just type in JDF if that applies. Designate a date for when the match is actually being held. And then you have some settings around whether the match is completed, whether you want to lock it, or the match type. We're going to leave those settings as they are. Then under score settings, you have some additional settings that you can work with. I'm going to focus on the ones that apply to us specifically in the OCL format. So the first one I'm going to change is the runs for wide. So I'm going to click on it and say 2 runs for a wide. That's how the OCL format allows. Then you have some additional settings that you can define around wagon view, whether or not you want to designate dot balls in the wagon, and again, those will make a little bit more sense once we walk through the scoring parameters and the scoring dashboard as it plays itself out. Under limit settings, you have the ability to set limits on bowler, which by default is going to be 4 for a 20 over match. Then you have the ability to designate whether the balls faced by batsmen should include no ball, wide ball, all, or none. So the OCL standard or the ICC standard would be that a no ball faced by a batsman counts towards their total balls faced count. So we're going to leave that as the default. Then you have target run, target over, again, settings we're not going to interact with. We're going to leave the 20 overs per inning, leave the 6 balls per over. Then you have the additional OCL specific setting of balls per over to include some none, all, wide, or no ball. So you're defining whether a wide ball counts as a legal delivery, whether a no ball counts as a legal delivery, or whether all of those count as legal deliveries. So since by OCL format, a wide ball for the first 15 overs of an innings counts as a legal delivery, we're going to select wide to be included within the included as a legal delivery. Then you can award penalty run credits if some situation or specific scenario presents itself. So now we have customized the settings as per OCL requirements. We have made the changes that apply, and we are going to save these settings by touching the save on the top right. Once the settings have been saved, it'll bring you back to the scoring interface. From the scoring interface, I'll start from the left. You have the ability to designate the batsman. So you can select the player by clicking on the actual player profile, like so, and choose whichever player applies. So I could switch to Sujit. Similarly, you can switch the second batsman that it has defaulted to another batsman. I will put myself back in there. And then using the arrow pointing left, you have the ability to toggle between who is the facing batsman. So by default, Sujit is the one facing the delivery. I can switch it to myself being the facing batsman. Then in the center of the screen, you'll see the Manhattan, the wagon, the worm, some additional stats that the scoring interface generates, which we can come back to. You have up top the current over, the partnership, runs per over, and then balls left on the top right, some stats, some immediate information that it accumulates and presents. The score is right under the score, which is 0 for 0 right now. You have the ability to click on the other team, look at the team profile, get some contact information, and again, add players and work through that information. So I'm just going to add another player who's a fast bowler, hit save, and now that team has. So while you're in the scoring interface, you essentially have the ability to manage the team itself. I could do the same with Portland Vikings, make any changes as they apply, because the idea is that if you want to refine the 11 or add someone who is new to your team, who hasn't already been added to your team profile, then you have the ability to manage that. All right, so to get a game started, once you have the batsman set, you then have to select a bowler before proceeding. So you can see touch here to select a bowler, so we're going to touch that. And then from the list of existing players for the demo team, in this case, you can select one of the existing players by touching on that. You also have the ability to add a new bowler, and again, that is essentially managing the player profiles associated with that specific team. So I'm going to use player 2, the demo player that I created. And you can see once the player has been selected, or the bowler has been selected, the controls on the far right for the actual scoring become available. Alright, so let's get started with scoring. First off, you have the ability to clock a delivery as a dot ball. So you can simply touch the dot ball and select dot ball, and that will count as the dot ball. You can see the information next to the batsman getting filled out, as well as information on the bottom left under the bowling section getting filled out. Then you have the 1 to 6 runs. So these would be legal runs that are scored off the bat. So 1 through 9 that are listed. So if someone hits a 4, you can select 4. Once you click on 4, by default, as the settings stand, it'll ask you which area of the field the runs were scored off of. So you can see by default, I'm designated as a right-hand batsman. So based on that right-hand batsman settings, it's saying whether I hit it on the offside or the leg side. So to designate which area the shot was hit or the runs were taken from, you have the ability to click on it. So if it was a 4, then the ball will have to obviously travel all the way to the boundary. And say, for example, this was in the mid-wicket area, then I can sort of specify that region. So you can see I can even change those settings, make sure I've marked the right area. And once you're satisfied that that's the area where the 4 was hit, you can simply click on or touch on accept at the bottom. So you can see it again allocated 4 runs for me. The score up top is 4 for 0. The bowler has given away 4 runs in 2 balls. Similarly, if you go back from 1 to 6 runs and say they took a single, you have the ability to allocate a specific region again, and this time, since it recognizes that it's just a single, you can see it's giving you a different color for that specific run. So from here I can just say that's where the ball went, accept it again, and it'll clock the score as it stands. It automatically toggles to Sujit now, who will be facing, since it was a single that was taken. Then you have no ball settings on the left. You can click on no ball, designate whether the runs made off of the no ball were hit runs, or whether there were any bye runs taken, or if there were no extra runs taken, and just account for the no ball that was bowled. Then there's the wide. So if you click on wide, it says no bye runs. So by default, just 2 for the wide. 1 bye run taken or 4 bye runs taken, whatever the scenario that fits, you can select appropriately. I'm just going to go with no bye runs and 2 wide. So you can see once I selected 2 wides with no bye, it still accounted for the delivery for the wide. So 4 balls bowled under the player 2 profile for 8 runs. The no ball did not count because that's one of the settings we left as default, but the wide ball did count. Similarly, you can come back to bye define whether it's a leg bye, whether it's a bye, and if it's a bye, how many byes were taken. I'm going to go back and clock another wide just to show you the wide ball does count as a legal delivery. So even those 2 wide deliveries have accounted to the 5 balls this bowler has bowled thus far. And you can also note for the batsman, it's only been 1 delivery, which was the 1 run taken off the no ball, I believe, wherever it applies. So, but the wide balls are not counting for the batsman because that's one of the parameters we have set for. Then on the right, you have the ability to designate the wicket. So define that someone got out. And when you click on that, it'll ask you, okay, who got out? Say, for example, Sujit played a reckless shot. It was Sujit. And since it's Sujit who's the facing batsman, it recognizes that Sujit could have gotten out in these specific ways. He could have been bowled out, LBW, run out, stumped, caught, hit wicket, retired out, handled the ball, obstructing the field, hit the ball twice, or timed out as it stands. Similarly, if I go back and, so I basically just touch the screen outside of the specified selection area, and then it gives me additional settings, or it essentially takes me back to the scoring interface. So from here, I'll go back to wicket and I'll say, I got out, and since I'm at the non-striker's end, there's only really 2 ways that I could have gotten out, whether it's a run out or a retired out. So if I select Sujit again and I say Sujit was caught, then it asks you to designate who caught the specific. And again, you're collecting all that stats, and as scorers, you want to be a little bit more proactive since it's hard to know everyone who's on the field. You can go ask the umpire or ask the captain or actually walk onto the field and find out the name of the specific player and make sure you select the appropriate player and say that's the one who caught it. You can also designate whether the batsman crossed, so cross each other and not complete the run. So if they crossed, then it's going to automatically adjust appropriately and then make sure that next person facing will probably be the new batsman in this case, because I just said that Sujit was playing, he got caught, and we did cross, so it put me on as the facing batsman, but now it's saying end of over, so if once I click end of over, it will revert to the next batsman in, which by default is Ravi Mathura. You have the ability to again click on Ravi's name or select the player profile and switch between a different player that might be actually coming in. Then, since by default there isn't a second bowler that it recognizes in terms of spells, it's asking you to go in and select a different bowler. Once you select the bowler, then you have the ability to go through the entire over again. You can also add runs for penalty, who these are credited to, and then finally on the right menu you have the ability to edit. So you can edit and undo the last ball. So go back, Sujit didn't really get out, that was just a mistake. You can also edit and choose to edit the batsman. So if you edit the batsman, you can make any changes and say to match and touch here to select the old batsman. This wasn't the actual batsman who was facing, and this is the new batsman who. So say for example I had selected Sujit by mistake and it was actually Shiva who was batting. So I could say Sujit, it's actually Shiva, and notice it gives you a warning and some specifics about that. So Sujit faced these many balls, a few of them were extras, it's sort of calculating that. Once you're done switching the names, you have the update on the bottom, you can click it, and then it warns you can't undo this change. Once it's been made, it will be the change. I'll hit yes, okay, it'll take me back, and now you can see Shiva was actually the batsman along with me, and it was not Sujit. So since I undid the delivery, I'm at the end of the last over again, and I can now go in and say, okay, Shiva takes a single, and it recognizes that Shiva is a left-handed batsman, so you can see the wagon wheel is presented as it relates. So once you have designated where the shot was hit, you can hit accept, and again, since it was the single of the last over, it'll say end of over, and it'll put Shiva back on the strike. I'm going to select player 1 as the second bowler and just show you the run out protocol. So if Qasim is run out, it again asks you if there is someone responsible for the run out. You can designate that. You can then define the status of the ball. It was a wide ball, no ball by, or dot ball, and then whether or not the batsman crossed or not. So very thorough, generating all this information, generating all this UI. It's again, this app has been customized to enable you to make some changes as per OCL format. So you saw when we situated this match, we could go into the settings and designate 2 runs for a wide and define whether a wide ball counts or not. The big add-on for this app, as opposed to the other apps you might have used, is once you have gone through, say for example, we had bowled 15 overs already and it was the beginning of the 16th over. Actually, just let me run through the over real quick. Alright, end of over. So say for example, now 15 overs are over and this is the start of the 16th over. So before the 16th over starts, you have the ability to go into settings. So go back into settings, and from here say, click on the runs for wide and say it's 1 run for a wide now. And then under limit settings, you're going to say balls per over to include none of these. Wide isn't included, no ball isn't included, and none of these are included. And then once you have made those changes, you're gonna hit save, and you can see that for player 2 before, there were two wides, which meant 4 runs, and all of that stat remains the same. However, going forward in the 16th over, say for example, if I click on wide, now the wide would count as 1 run, and the wide itself does not count as a legal delivery. So for the last 5 overs, we're gonna score the innings with these, changed or edited settings, and that's the big advantage of using the nxCricket app, because it's been customized and modified to meet our specific needs. All right. So once you have experienced the scoring interface, hopefully that's making you feel a little bit more comfortable. Once the innings is complete, it will automatically mark the innings is complete and then give you the ability to do the similar scoring interface for the second part of the innings. I'm going to close out of this, and you can see it's still showing it in the active matches view. If I go back to settings and I say under match settings, match completed, and say yes to that and hit save, the match according to me has completed. I could have designated a custom outcome and the match is no longer under active view. If I want to go back and take a look at the match, I can hit the little icon on the left bottom that switches between active and completed matches, and then you can see by default it's designated the Vikings having won by 12 runs. That's just because the demo team didn't bat. From here you have the ability to send email or email the score sheet of a specific match. So that's the next functionality we're going to look at. So make sure you're in the completed matches view, and then you'll hit the envelope on the bottom or touch the envelope on the bottom, which sets it in the email mode. And then right next to the game, you'll see the match report. You'll actually see the envelope under cancel. If you touch on that, it'll start generating the email and it'll say, okay, what format do you want? For OCL, the standard for now will be the PDF format. That's how we'd want to receive all the match summaries or the match statistics. So you're going to select PDF, and then because you have emails defined or the ability to have emails defined, you can select all players who were involved with this game, send them an email, or don't send any of the built-in emails. So you can select none, and what that allows you to do is specifically define the emails of who you're sending it to. Otherwise, if you had selected all recipients, it would have embedded certain emails within the email that it's going to compose. All right, so it takes a minute and then it composes the email for you, and all you have to do is designate who this email goes to. So I could type my initials, Sayyid Qasim @gmail.com. And once I'm done, I can hit send up top to send the emails, and you can see the PDF is attached to this email. So one thing to keep in mind about email functionality is you're going to have to set an email account on your iPad. So if it's a personal iPad, you can have your personal account that's associated with the email, or have an email account associated with your iPad. Or if it's a team email account, whatever works. We have a team email account on this iPad, so that's why I'm able to use that to send the email, and it actually forwards it. I'm actually gonna send it again just to show you something. PDF. Alright, and I'm going to send it to the account that is associated with it, so I can send you what the email looks like. Alright, so now I have emailed the account, or emailed the score sheet of that match to this account. So I clicked again on the envelope, and it takes us back to the completed versus the active matches view. So that's how you moderate teams, moderate players, create a match, and actually score during a match. The only difference between T20 and T30 would be the number of overs. Realistically, there's no other changes between the two formats that OCL operates on. One other key benefit that's been added in a few of the recent updates is also the ability to keep stats across a tournament. So you can see that trophy next to, on the bottom, the 7th icon from the left or the 3rd from the right. If you click on that, you have the ability to create a new tournament. So I could say create a tournament, T20 tournament. And obviously you can designate points and all of those parameters around it as it applies. We're just going to say, I don't know, it's 2 or 4 points for a win in T20. I'm going to hit save. It's generated new tournament. You can click on the tournament itself, as you can see, and then from here you can add the games that are associated with that tournament. So I can say that was a part of that tournament, and now you can see 1 played, 1 won, 1 lost by demo team, net run rate, 4, 12 of 2 overs, some against, and then points being generated. You also have the ability to check the batsman stats, so who's at the top of the inning, or how they're doing in terms of batsman, who's at top, which is me surprisingly, or bowling wise, who's at the top, what the stats are for, and it's just a ranking as it stands today. So this way you can track your tournament, and again, obviously we won't be able to do it OCL wide right now. We are still considering or looking into how to collectively sort of moderate that data, but right now for your specific teams you could always leverage it to keep track of what's going on, who at least the best player in your team is, best batsman, best bowler, etc. At some point we'll probably look into the whole functionality around Bluetooth, importing the data at the end of having a central location to store all of that information. So that's the tournament functionality, and then the backup allows you to take regular backups and restore in case something gets deleted or something gets miscued based on how it's set up. And then finally, the tutorials or the info help section really walk you through how you can work with the different aspects. So if you're trying to manage the entire cricket season, T29, so you could, I guess I called it T20. So from here you can manage the cricket season as well. You can make some changes, first day of season, last day of season, restrict players to those who have played, restrict teams to those who have played, etc. You can make some changes, hit save, and then from here you can manage your cricket season. So this season obviously extends beyond tournaments, or T20 is separate, T30 is separate. There's frequently asked questions that it points you to. There's creating your first match, so it walks you through the tutorial that I essentially walked you through, toolbar, giving you introduction. So all of the information, all of the content is there. It's just up to you to sort of leverage it and use it. All right, so before we call this it, I'm just going to quickly show you the email that was received. Click on that, it'll launch the PDF, and this is just to get you an idea of the generated score sheets and how detailed it is. So you can see it highlights the players, gives you a thorough score sheet, the bowlers, fall off wickets, the innings for the other, they didn't bat in this case. Then if you scroll down, it gives you the innings broken down by over. If you continue, then it gives you the Manhattan, gives you the worm, how the progression went, the batsman stats, the bowler stats. Then it gives you the match wagon, the wagon where you're designated, the scoring areas, and it even breaks them down based on bowler as well as batsman as it applies. So it gives you a lot of data, a lot of information that you can, again, collect stats on, leverage it to kind of go back and take a look at, you know, any kind of analytics that you want to do. You can also go back into the app, click on completed matches, and since it's a completed match, you can't really edit it or change anything, but you can look through some of those settings that I showed you from here as well. You can see the wagon, or the team, so what the team was, fall of wicket, partnership, the worm up top, so some specific settings that you can look at. Alright, so that's the nxCricket app scoring tutorial. As I promised, I am again a big advocate for it. I worked with the developers to customize it to OCL standards, so hopefully you guys were able to kind of get a good interface or introduction to it. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. This video is available on the OCL website along with ways to contact me. If you have any more questions, please feel free to reach out, and I'll be more than happy to work with you to answer those questions. Thank you for spending your time walking through this tutorial. Hopefully you found it helpful, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the field.